Welcome back to Kicking in the Second Half, KISH YZ. If you like our videos, please give us a thumbs up. And if you haven't subbed, check out some more of our videos. And hopefully you would like to sub and turn on your notification bell to stay updated with new content drops, please. And thank you. But yeah, let's start this off. This is episode 17, Higher Expectations, Hugh. Higher Expectations. Like I said, I'm D, back again with Groot. We got Hugh over there.
Hey, what's up?
And we got a special guest with us again. Y'all seen him once, y'all seen him twice, probably 3 times, maybe more than that. If you check him out on Twitch, this is your bud 36.
Hey man. Hey gamers, how y'all doing?
Yeah, there he is right there. The man himself, the big gamer. Like I said, if you're into watching video game streams, check him out on Twitch, your bud 36. And he also has a YouTube page, same name. Fellas, yeah, let's get into this. Higher expectations. And what I mean by that, let's see, the topic is, we've been a month into doing these podcasts. We started out doing not only the All-Star game, but talking about the second half projections of the Eastern Conference and the Western Conference. So it's basically almost halfway, the second half of the second half. And now we're just kind of focused today on looking at some of the potential play-in seeding teams as of right now, or where we think the play-in tourney might look like come the end of the regular season. So these are basically seedings 7 through 10th seed because of the playoff format. Let me remind the viewers, the listeners, and y'all too as well, that the way the play-in tournament is supposed to work, as far as what I can remember, is the 7th and 8th seed, they're going to play each other to determine who is the 7th seed. So the winner of that game advances. So whether it be the 8th seed or the 7th seed, they become the actual 7th seed. And the loser plays the next round. Also in round one, in another stage of games, it's going to be the 9th and 10th seeds. What one of those teams needs to do to make it to playoffs is win 2 games. They need to win 1 game between each other. So the 9th versus the 10th, the winner of that advances. The loser is completely out of the playoffs. So the winner of the 9th and 10th seed plays against the loser of the 7th and 8th seed. And then that winner of that game is now the 8th seed. So I think it's going to happen over a course of 3 days this year, 3 or 4 days. And so potentially you can have in a series of sorts of, the 9th and 10th seed both becoming the new 7th and 8th seed. You could see a 10th seed become as high as an 8th seed. I'm sorry. So yeah, sorry. You can't see the 9th and 10th seed become both in the playoffs, only one of them. So yeah, you could potentially see a 10th or 9th seed become that 8th seed. And you could potentially see an 8th seed all of a sudden become a 7th seed. So yeah, let's start off with the East. Hugh, you're repping the West again with the Golden State. B, you're a Philly fan. I'm gonna start with you in the East. Anything jumping out to you as far as you looking at where the teams are positioned right now? You see any fluctuation with that? You see anybody making it into the playoff tourney or dropping into the playoff tournament?
Yeah, so I've been, keeping an eye on it. There has been a lot of movement since the initial, what we thought of the teams in each division, each conference. It's shaking out to, you have a better idea of who everybody is now after the All-Star break. A couple of teams that I'm keeping my eye on as far as climbing is the Raptors and the Bulls. The Raptors are on that razor's edge, though. I feel like they're right on the cusp of making it into that or dropping down to be with your Wizards and Cleveland Magic. I mean, I want to believe in the Wizards, to be honest. I think they have great talent there, but I think they're past the point of no return now. I think they're probably done. I would love to see them make a push here. They still were mathematically able to. I just don't see it. I don't see it in that team, but I do see it in the Raptors. I think they can make a strong push to get into that play-in tournament.
To back you up with what you're saying about the Raptors, since the trade deadline, they're looking pretty decent. They traded and got Gary Trent Jr. In their trade deadline trade, and he looks like he could be the X factor as far as getting them into that play-in tournament. I think he's a guy that's currently playing with the chip on his shoulder, and he was pretty much thriving in the Portland set. But with this team, I think he's got a bigger role because they're probably going to look forward to moving on from Kyle Lowry and depend more so on this guy for scoring. And he could be the guy that gets them into that 10th spot there. Like you said, they're tied with the Bulls, so it's a great possibility.
Yeah, I definitely think the Raptors are a team to watch going forward. This Bulls team is still pretty good, but I think they're still going to be kind of where they are, somewhere in that 9-10 spot. I still think they may probably hold on. I'm worried about this Celtics team right now. They've kind of hung around 500, but the teams below them are strengthening up. The Pacers, Bulls, Raptors. I don't know. I think the Knicks probably climb back up a little bit. I like that team. Maybe the Hornets drop, but like I say, I think the play-in tournament is going to be interesting to see the race between the Celtics, Bulls, and Raptors, in my opinion, as who's in that 8, 9, 10 spot.
Okay. Hugh, why don't you touch on, Byron mentioned the Celtics there, and we've talked about them a lot. So go ahead and, start us off with that. Where do you see the Celtics among the other teams as far as this play-in tournament goes?
Yeah, I mean, I probably have them gaining a little more. I probably have them at like 6 or something like that. Personally, I think they lack a big man and stuff like that, and I don't think they're going to make it very far in the playoffs anyways. But I think they at least have enough talent, to move up and at least not be a play-in team, in my opinion. Um, Teams I do think will be playing teams. I think the Bulls. I don't see them done moving yet, man. Since they got Vucevic, that team has improved. In my opinion, they have Vucevic's been going off there. I think like we expected them to. And him and Zach LaVine look pretty good together, so I could see them climbing a little bit. Indiana's in there. We've touched on Brogdon and Sabonis. I probably have the Bulls passing them, in my opinion. The Knicks, I don't know. I want to say the Knicks go up, but I mean, I don't see them beating out many of the teams above them. So I probably have them as a play-in team, and I have the Hornets actually falling and being around that. I think they're, what are they now, 4th or 5th currently or something like that. But I have them falling, especially without LaMelo and them falling and being one of those play-in teams as well.
Yeah, they're currently in the 4th place, and it looks like them and the Atlanta Hawks are both tied as far as games behind the Nets, sitting both at 9. But Charlotte has the better record or more wins or something like that. That's putting them in 4th. But yeah, I agree with what all y'all are saying for the most part. A little bit of here, a little bit of there. I feel like Boston, they're so disappointing this season that I feel like, yeah, they might drop down to the 8th spot, and I could see New York going up to the 6th spot. But now with Hugh mentioning the what the Charlotte Hornets are dealing with, they could potentially become that 7th seeded team, and the Knicks maybe climb up to the 6th spot. Looking at from just Boston alone, where Boston's record is, the New York Knicks are 1 game behind Boston. The Pacers are 1 game behind the Knicks, and then the Bulls are 1.5 behind the Pacers, tied with Toronto. So Bulls in Toronto, 1.5 games behind the Pacers, but the Bulls, I guess, hold the tiebreaker or the better record, and they're sitting 10th. Like B said, I see where the Raptors could possibly move up and beat somebody out of the playoff spot. I'm not sure who it would be. If it would be the Bulls or the Pacers. I mean, I could see the Bulls potentially not making it just because of injury. If Zach LaVine doesn't straighten out, or if he has a recurrent injury, I do like what they have there with Zach LaVine and Vucevic, but that's something that also needs to start gelling together and stay healthy. So the Bulls have a lot of risk factors there. Still dealing with the development of Kobe White. So that's something to look out for too, unless they do a lineup where they put him on the bench and start Satoransky. that might be more beneficial to them. I think that's what they had when actually Kobe White had missed a game against the Brooklyn Nets when the Bulls beat Brooklyn over the weekend. So, it might come down to a coaching decision as far as what personnel is on the court for some of these teams. And Boston, they're just struggling. I'd like to see them higher. I'd like to see them where they're not even in the playoff tournament, but the way it's looking, they're probably going to stay around that same area. But overall, I don't have much of a shakeup. I would say that whatever we see, it's probably going to be relatively close to these 5 teams with nothing else added in the mix. Charlotte might have enough to stay out of the tournament with Hayward if he can stay healthy enough to at least play most of the games, and Terry Rozier. So let's move on to the West. So last time we started with your bud. This time we're going to start with you. Same question, just on the Western Conference. Looking at the play-in teams here. 7th through 10th, we got Dallas, Memphis, San Antonio, and Golden State. Tell me what's going on there in your head. What do you see?
Yeah, when I looked at them before the podcast, I was just thinking about teams I could see moving in or out. And to be honest, those 4, I have them sitting pretty still. I don't have much movement, in my opinion. I mean, the Mavs, they're so hit or miss, man. They beat Utah, or not Utah, Utah, yeah, a couple nights ago, and they ruined their 9-game win streaks. You're like, man, Dallas is on top of the world. Then they lose tonight to Houston. So I mean, they're just totally inconsistent. The Grizzlies are a team that have been winning a lot lately. I've been noticing. I don't know exactly how many games they've won in a row, but I know it's at least a few. And I can't remember. I know they beat someone yesterday, the day before, actually, really good team. I can't remember who it was. I just remember being surprised by it. So yeah, I could see them passing the Mavs eventually. The Spurs, yeah, the Spurs are the Spurs in my opinion. I think they're just gonna keep doing what they're doing, being pretty even in my opinion. And the Warriors, I mean, the Warriors, yeah, you got Curry healthy now. They got a much needed win last night against Milwaukee. Great game, but yeah, I mean, I wish I had better expectations for my team, but I mean, maybe past the Spurs. How many games back are they from the Spurs? Do you know?
Yes, I do have that. So I was going to get to that in my summary, but I'll go ahead and say it now. So if we're starting at where Dallas is at in the 7th seed, I don't have the record written down, but follow behind them, Memphis. They're 1.5 games behind Dallas. San Antonio is 2 games behind Memphis. Golden State is 1 game behind San Antonio. Just to backfill as well, New Orleans Pelicans are 2 games behind Golden State. And Sacramento is actually tied for 2 games behind Golden State as well, but sitting in the 12th seed at the moment. So to answer your question about where San Antonio and Golden State is 1 game behind San Antonio.
Yeah. So with the Grizzlies, what did you say? 2.5 back from the Mavs, I think is what you said.
Oh, I'm sorry, that was your question. The Memphis Grizzlies are 1.5 games behind Dallas.
1.5. So I mean, yeah, I mean, I think they have legitimate shot of passing the Mavs, and then the Warriors. I probably just have them staying at 10th. I want to say the Pelicans, dude, coming in, but they're, what do you say, 2 games behind the Warriors, right? 2 games.
Right,
So I
currently
mean,
2 games behind the Warriors, sitting outside of the.
so yeah, so I mean, they're probably going to get better with when Bi comes back. I know Zion came back tonight, but
Right,
yeah,
yeah, they
I don't
just
know if I haven't passed them the Warriors, but
yeah, they just took that ugly loss against the Nets, like you had mentioned before in our KISH debate. Big blowout loss, but yeah, they were missing Brandon Ingram.
so yeah, I have them probably sitting still. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the Warriors pass the Spurs, but I mean, you got Curry back, so that's a big plus. I mean, you saw how bad it was without him and Draymond. So I mean, with those guys, I mean, I could see him passing the Spurs, but Curry misses any more time, or even Draymond, yeah, I probably have them sitting where they're at, if not falling to New Orleans. So I wouldn't be surprised if any of that happened there.
So let's go ahead and pass the mic over to your bud. Take it away.
So I'm looking at, some streaks and records here. And with the return of Draymond and Steph, I look for the Warriors to climb again. They weren't doing bad before. I mean, those guys mean so much to that team, not only from a talent standpoint, but from a pure leadership and, personality of that team. And, their success long term has led to that team doing more than they would have expected to do. with what they had, missing Clay, a huge part, like a huge part of that team. And they're still being competitive night in and night out. I mean, notwithstanding that Raptors loss. I mean, but the Raptors played really well that night. They were missing their two main guys. So, I mean, stuff like that is an expectation. But I'm worried about this Spurs team. They are not doing well. They're reeling really bad, especially after Aldridge left. They have no strong rebounder in the middle anymore. Uh, I worry about them really collapsing. Um, with the Pelicans having their guys come back, I look for them to make a strong push as well. I think the West is a lot more up for grabs than the East is right now. And the Kings, they're kind of hit or miss. So I see them, they could maybe push up, maybe fall back. Um, I don't look for the Mavs to fall. I think they're a little too consistent. And I look for the Grizzlies to hold. But that 9 and 10 spot, uh, I look for the Spurs really to just be out. I mean, their rebounding has really suffered a lot more than I expected. Even though Aldridge wasn't having a big role in the team, he wasn't even really trying. His statistical output alone must have meant more than we initially thought. And so I look for the Warriors to climb with their stars back, and also the Pelicans. And like I say, if the Spurs collapse even further, maybe even the Kings pushing up into it. But I would say the three teams that I would think to play with Memphis there is going to be the Warriors, Pelicans, and Kings.
Oh, that's interesting takes from both of y'all. I wasn't expecting the Sacramento look out there, the shout out, and Hugh, with what you were saying as far as people staying steady, I kind of agree with that as well. My take on it is that, I feel like Memphis is kind of going to stick where they're at. I do feel like San Antonio is going to drop off a bit. I think it might hurt them even more down the stretch to the point where the Pelicans do make it into the playoffs. I think Sacramento for me is going to be a Marvin Bagley short of making it into the playoffs. I just think they might not have enough there to make it into the tourney. Well, I'm not sure. This is all based off just us blindly looking at the teams, not really considering what games they have left in the season as far as matchup basis. But maybe the schedule favors them a little bit more. But I still think they're going to be a Marvin Bagley short. And I would say I want to throw this out there because with most of us just talking about it staying steady or adding some of these bottom teams, I would mention, because I have in my notes, I do see the Lakers going down to the 7th seed, but in a return of LeBron James, depending on when he may return, I can see them climbing back out of the 7th seed and getting into the 6th seed. I think that's probably going to be an important goal for them. Is maybe they're going to wait until they absolutely necessarily need to have LeBron come back. I can't remember the exact stats as far as where they're at in the standings, as far as how many games they're in front of Dallas. But yeah, Portland's going to creep up there. And like I said, I could see Dallas becoming the 6th seed temporarily. But if LeBron returns in the right timing, they're going to take back that 6th seed and then push Dallas maybe back down the 7th, unless Portland slips to 7th and Dallas can stay up if the Lakers make it back to 5th. I could just see a little bit shake up at the top, but I do, like I said, still see Memphis in there and Golden State, but I'm just basically dropping San Antonio out of it and replacing them with the Pelicans.
Yeah, I definitely think the Lakers, if they fall down to a 7th spot, I'd say that they would definitely want to, if LeBron's healthy enough, have him in there to at least secure that 6th spot. They don't want to play in with some of these teams that are kind of unpredictable. You're kind of used to playing a certain style, and I don't think they want to put any more games on their superstars as well. So just bringing them back a little early to secure a 6th spot is going to be really important for them because, like I say, you don't want to put any more miles on those guys than you have to. I think they can beat anybody who would be in the 8th, 9th, and 10th spot on this list, but I just don't think they want to put additional games on their stars.
Yeah, for sure. Why not, give LeBron the opportunity to acclimate back into his conditioning. And if he has to run, slightly heavier minutes, maybe around 35 for a few games just to secure some wins, then so be it. I think it's better than, like you said, to have to play in a tournament where you potentially have to win 2 games if you lose the first one just to make it into the playoffs within 3 games and then having the playoffs start right after. So yeah, definitely use as much rest as you can. And if they need to, go ahead and deploy LeBron James if he's healthy enough. Hugh, anything else you want to add, bro?
No, no, not really. I agree with what you said about the Lakers. I see them at least getting passed by Portland, but yeah, I mean, I think LeBron comes back, at least with a handful of games left in the regular season. And I think they'll pull themselves out of that and be fine.
Yeah, like I said, we're just touching on the bottoms here as far as the potential play-in tournament seeded teams for the East and West. When we have more time and as it gets closer, we'll probably dive into again the if it's not projections because it's closer to the season ending and it's actually getting into the tournament, we'll look at where everybody's standing respectively as far as play-in tournaments and the whole playoff settings for both East and the West. So, look for that down the road. But we just wanted to dive into a little bit of what's changed since, obviously the All-Star weekend break, since the beginning of the second half of the season. Like I said, we're about halfway through of that portion. And since the trade deadline, if any major changes have happened. So, and then like I had mentioned before, Hugh, any teams that potentially might be coming off bubble fatigue or players specifically, that could factor in. So, but yeah, it's crazy kind of looking at these teams. I guess most of these weren't bubble teams that we're speaking about. Maybe outside of, was it Memphis as a bubble team?
Yeah, they were.
Luka was down there maybe.
Yeah, Luka was in it too.
Yeah, so you're seeing like some of these teams that that didn't really play a lot of games last year that are in this area here. As far as on the West, the East, I guess. Wow, that's crazy. It's just like Boston and Toronto were the ones that were left from the bubble, and New York, the Pacers and the Bulls, I believe, were left out. No, the Pacers were in there. My bad. So yeah, it's kind of a blend there, a bag of mixed nuts, I guess we could say. So yeah, this has been kicking it in the second half. Like I said, if you haven't checked out any of our other videos, go ahead and check those out. We do like a shoe segment, debate segments. This is our podcast episode where you can find our podcast on anchor.fm, Google Podcasts, Pocket Casts, and Spotify if you want the audio only version. Of course, you can always keep it here on YouTube and follow us here on KISH YZ. Check us out on Twitter and Instagram as well under the same name, KISH YZ, KISH _YZ for the Instagram and Twitter handles. And for the audio only listeners, KISH space YZ on YouTube. Hugh, tell the people if they like, if they want to sub.
Yeah, like the video. If you like the video, sub, no tomatoes.
I like that. Give them a sub, no tomatoes. B, go ahead, give us a shout out. It's our special guest here, Big Gamer. Hey, we support you, bro, like you support us. Go ahead and give your piece.
So you guys can find me at yourbud36 at twitch.tv/yourbud36. We play a bunch of stuff. We're into Overwatch, Stardew Valley. We just started up Retro Night to a lot of success. Big shout out to my community for coming and supporting that. We're having a good time. We play some Warzone with Hugh over there. We play some Overwatch with D here. We have a good time. We have a few laughs. Make sure you come by and hang out. Also, another big shout out to Tavern Geek for having me on recently. We had a great time over there with the Feeling Lucky podcast from the Hops News umbrella. We had a great time. We're hoping to collab more with them. I'm sure I'm looking forward to collabing more here with Kish YZ. We have a good time. Yeah. Big thanks to having me on again, and hopefully we'll do it again soon.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I appreciate both of y'all being on this episode with me. Yeah, big shout out again to the Tavern Geek. You can find us over there occasionally on those episodes. That's also on YouTube and also on Anchor.fm and Spotify for the audio only, and the Feelin' Lucky Pod, which is a podcast you can find, I think, on all anywhere you could find your podcasts. I think they're on all of that media there. And yeah, shout out to Lucky and Big Daddy who joined us on the last Tavern Geek podcast that's on Spotify now. And once again, this has been Kicking It in the Second Half. Kish YZ, peace and love.